Hello students, welcome to my channel AQDG Space. In the previous lectures, we learned about the use of the simple if statements and the if-else statements. Now to carry it forward, we are going to learn today in our lecture about the nested if statements or the if-else statements inside the if-else statements that are considered when more than two or scenarios are being discussed or conditions are being discussed. So let's look forward. To begin with, let's discuss the syntax of the if-else if statements in C or nested statements in C. So you can see we have used the keyword if followed by the condition within the brackets, the parenthesis open, and the statement 1 is executed. If the if condition is true, then statement 1 would be executed. But if it's false, then it will move on to the else if statement and will try to and if the else if statement is true, that means that statement 2 would be executed. But if neither the first if condition nor the second if condition is true, then the last else statement would be executed. Let's discuss the pseudocode of the if else statements. It goes the same way: if followed by the condition and then followed by the statement 1. If that condition is not met, then it moves on to the else if and look for the condition in the else if. Even if that condition is not true, then it will go to the last else statement and the end of end if, showing that now the entire if structure is complete. Talking about the flowchart of the if-else statement, the condition 1 is tested. So it is the testing phase and it is enclosed within the rhombus. If it is true or false, depending upon the statement. If it is true, then it will execute statement 2. But if it is false, that is move on to no, then it will go on to the next condition and will test that condition. In the next condition also, if it is true, obviously the statement 3 would be executed. But if this time also state condition 2 is not true, that means the statement 1 would be executed, and hence all of their statements will then move on to the next stage. Either it would be the exit or something else to be worked on. Let's discuss an example of the nested if-else statements. The first one being the program will prompt whether a zero, a positive or a negative number is input. To start with, the first step is start. The next one is read the number. If number is less than 0, then write a negative number. But if it's not less than 0, then else if check if whether it's greater than 0 then. If it is greater than 0, then gives a positive number. But if neither of the two is true, that means the number entered is a 0. And after this, we exit the program. Moving on to the formation of the flowchart of this program, we start off with the start by the oval, and then we create the parallelogram by the in which the number is read. If number is less than 0, then a negative number, a yes would give a negative number. If it is greater than 0, then it will give a positive number. And if it is neither of them are true, that is both of them proceed to their no condition, then obviously a 0 would be entered, hence output 0. And then this program moves on to the exit stage. Programming it in C, prompting, putting the heading, prompting whether a positive number, negative, sorry, negative number or a 0 is entered. So starting off with the initialization of the number, int num, we will take the prompt the user to enter any number. Semicolon at the end. Scanf will take the numbers again, since it's the It's an integer data type. The format specifier used would be %d and num bracket close terminated by a semicolon. Then based on that, we will now apply the if statement. If num is lesser than 0, slight indent, print f you sorry you entered a negative number. But if it's not true, then else if num is greater than 0, slight indent, print f you entered a positive number. And if both the conditions are false, then we will simply write else, slight indent, print f you entered a 0. This is it. Let's run the program and see if it's running fine or is it showing any error. So we run the program, it runs fine, enter any number. I entered 3 and it says you entered a positive number. So likewise, I can work for the others as well. For example, I will run it once again and I will write the number 0 and it says you entered a 0. So it's working fine this time. It's giving both the options. Likewise, you can test it for a negative number as well. Moving on to our next program, in which we are going to generate the grade sheet of the students using the if-else statements. So you start off with start, read marks. If marks are greater than 80, then write A plus. Else, if marks are greater than equal to 70, then write A grade. Else, if marks are greater than equal to 60, then B grade, 50, C grade. And if none of these are true, then obviously it's a fail. And after that, we exit the program. Making its flowchart, we start off with start, then read marks within the parallelogram condition within the rhombus, stating if it is true, if it is greater, if the marks are greater than 80 and it is true, you get an A plus grade. But if it's false, and then proceed towards the next, after outputting the A plus grade, proceed towards the next step. Whereas if in case of no, it will again check whether it is greater than 70. If it is yes, then an A grade, proceed to the next step. If this is no again, if it is false again, then see if it is greater than 60. And if it is a B grade, if it is yes, then a B grade, proceed to the next step. And if it is a no, then check again. Since we are short of space here, so we have used the on page marker here by a circle and an initial. B is representing the next step after the outputting of the grade, while A moves on to the next step when none of the conditions are true. We proceed from the same on the next column, checking the next state, which is if it is true, then a C grade would be output, hence it will proceed to the final step. Well, if it is false, then it would be tested again for the D grade. And in this way, if none of the conditions are true, then obviously it will output a fail. And you can see that all the outputs that are connected to B are then proceeding towards the exit. So that was the connection towards the exit, where once you have output all the grades, whereas once you have no, then you will keep on testing until you arrive at a final output. Coding the grade sheet in C, we are first going to take num as the input or marks as the integer data type. Prompt the user to enter the marks. So for that you will need printf statement, enter the marks. Scanf would be used to take the input from the user, %d, because it's an integer data type, comma, and marks. semicolon in the end. Now we will start off with the testing of the programs of the marks. If marks is greater than equal to 80, what will it do? Okay, we will terminate it by the slight indent, and you will write down printf a plus grade else if marks greater than equal to 70, slight indent, printf a grade else if marks greater than equal to 60. You see, after the if statement, I am not putting in the semicolon because that is how the if statement works. Semicolon, then else if marks greater than equal to 50, slight indent, print f c grade else if. So we are still left with the 40% marks which is the last threshold. After that the student will fail, slight indent, and we are going to write it as printf the grade. Since after this, if it is less than 40, then the student would be a fail, so we don't need an if statement again. So we are going to simply write else, slight indent, printf fail, and this is it. Let's run the program. Okay, enter the marks. I entered the marks 45 and I got a D grade in that. So this is it. Now you can see that an entire ladder is created here in which there are a lot of printf and the else if statements. And sometimes it gets a lot confusing because sometimes you tend to miss out a few grades or a few statements in between, a few conditions in between. This is which lead us to the switch statements. Students, I'm sure by now you must be very clear about the nested if statements that we use in programming. To know more about the switch statements and to know how they are done, refer to our next lecture. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And follow us to our next lecture. Thank you.